Yes. People exiting.
Just setting up the live broadcast will take a few moments, please bear with.
Gentlemen, can you take one for me? Yeah, this year. Okay.
I was trying to get her. Hey,
Let me just put the stand on this.
You don't want one of me. You do not want one of me. Have a look, Marlo. I'm sorry to bother you. For the family.
it's ours.
You've got to do this shit. Gosh.
There she is.
Testing.
I
She ain't killed him yet. No, she's done that.
Yes, Stuart.
He's alright, Claire. He works in
I was not here. You're all right.
He's alright.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, do you mind stepping back a bit? Sorry. Sorry guys, do you mind stepping back a bit? The funny thing is
Is too tall the speakers or what's your thoughts? Go down there and we can do it. Well, sorry. Firstly, what's your thoughts on this? Would that be at the back? Oh, I was going to leave it at the front because they need to hear you. Or then put it on the floor then at the front.
yeah, because we're gonna mark
The
that.
floor, yeah. Otherwise, someone could be like where you are with the mic.
I see it's better on the floor.
Leave it. Then they scored second. Then they got third. And then when the game was over, I phoned him. And he said, I can't believe it.
So, yeah, I mean, okay, I was just asking you, please. Yeah.
He doesn't go and see games. Yeah. But
My friend lives there. Do a live on the customer stage as well.
We are currently broadcasting live outside the BBC in central London. My name is Lou Errington. I'm an independent journalist and I cover a broad variety of protests and events. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you stay notified whenever I go live. Thank you very much for tuning in. And be sure to share the stream with your friends and family. Thank you very much, everyone.
Sorry.
Testing.
I was just telling you to go back a bit so you could see your full face.
Oh, you can see it? Okay.
You can see half of it.
That's fine.
Sure, it's fine. Oh, right.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're right.
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Mm.
Thanks for all the footage at
No worries.
Speaker's Corner.
Definitely, yeah.
Have you actually done it?
You're everywhere.
Yeah.
Alright. Good. Feels like it's relentless.
doesn't it?
I know he's trying to do something.
I know.
Good post. Sorry. Soon who? Brian. No, I haven't.
Oh no, he's next door.
Was he meant to be here?
Yeah, he was the one who told me about it today, man.
Hi, Deborah.
Brian. I knew about this earlier. Are you streaming?
Not yet, not yet. So how's your studies going, man?
It's going well. I'm on a gap here at the moment.
How are you?
Yeah.
You lazy git. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am. I'm focusing fully on the YouTube and TikTok as well.
Don't waste your time, man.
Definitely.
I keep telling you that, don't I?
Definitely.
Yeah, I want
So, there's another guy called Barack.
Sorry.
It's fine.
You can let me show us what's next to
That's all right, no problem.
We're currently broadcasting live outside the BBC at the Israeli protest. Welcome onto the channel. Be sure to share the stream with your friends and family. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah, you don't need to be that.
That's what I'm called. No. I meet so many people, man. Where will I?
Yeah, and as for me, just what I need.
Views. This man here will tell you, I care nothing about views.
No, not you. Not you.
No, but
You did the interview.
no, but my stuff, I get millions. That's my stuff. My stuff isn't.
It's really good.
Listen, I do so much stuff.
But it's been really powerful. I got from the back of your interview. All kinds of
Not for long.
Are you Cooper? I've seen your Instagram. I think you're amazing.
Where's my money, man?
They pay me in.
Are you listening to this? Where's my money?
Unfortunately, there was no.
Listen, I allow people to use my stuff, man. I don't believe in one.
We've got a next. You're welcome. Thanks for coming out.
Sorry?
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, that's me.
Anyway, it's been mad. It went mad from that day.
See, I'm nothing. No one knows me.
You launched.
I launched your career. Well, I launched their career as well.
But yeah, if there's
I
anything you're not
launched your
happy
career.
with,
What are you doing here? You should be in Parliament tomorrow.
that's fine. I'll
I know how to do it. That's my kind of thing. Yeah, so much has happened since the back of that.
No, I covered the South Coast riots. It's my footage you see most of the time. You know what I mean? And Channel 4 were at my house last week interviewing me because that footage went all over the world. Listen, man, you can do what you got to do.
No, it's good to
I'm not into this social media. I do what I do. Man.
No, I saw it.
I do what I do.
Put it up.
I don't take sides. People cuss me.
Shall I put it up?
Yeah, I hear you.
He's here.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanting to.
Would you mind moving a tiny bit? Thank you. Are you streaming it tonight?
Don't worry. I'm so sure.
I know that's why I put it higher. I can put it higher. Not not the flights, but the trip. The flights people will have to do themselves. We'll give the dates. What about the flights? So what you could do, not yet, but when we set up the group, you could possibly ask if you can join to give like flights. Yeah? Because Mark will be the one that'll add it.
I finally got a muffler for my road mic. Because it was super windy the other day and the wind was most of the sound on.
But you need that as well. Hey, you learn, man, isn't it?
Definitely. And it fits on, so it works.
But now you need the holder so you don't have to hold it.
Definitely. Having a hold on the side would be a good idea.
I'm going to charge you for lighting.
Yeah.
I should charge you for lighting as well.
I got some lighting here as well. Tiny bit of that. Thank you very much. Cheers. Yeah.
So you're enjoying your...
I am with my gap here. You stupid connect?
I've just been told we're on it.
Why?
Freelance theory.
It was very it was quite pro.
Director must be the director. Oh, you know this bird there, isn't it?
Yeah. I was filming down at Horse Guards earlier today.
Who was there?
TikTok, Pascal.
I honestly don't understand.
Tourists like it. Most of my views are TikTok. And then YouTube, most of mine are from
I don't understand it. Why do people like that?
people do.
No. We're talking, a friend of ours he's got TikTok and he gets millions of views and horse guards. Horse guards, the Americans love horses. The world too. Millions a day. So.
She said to someone else,
I might try going on the stage and get a view from the other side here. Okay.
And I think your space.
Yeah. Excuse me. Is it okay if I can get some shots up on the stage?
Not my stage, mate.
I'll just, is it okay if I just squeeze through?
Yeah.
Cheers. Excuse me. Cheers.
BBC, we won't pay your licence fee.
Hello? Yeah, not too bad. I was just streaming a message. No, it's probably about 500-600 pounds a day. So I'll do what I need to do. I'm right at the front. I'm right at the front.
Hello. Mic check 1 2 1 2 2 2.
Yeah, I should have cancelled.
What time you call this, mate?
How you doing?
You're late.
I came early.
I'm singing yet. Is he here? Is he coming? I'm singing yet.
You look so shocked.
That's perfect.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm starting 2 minutes.
sorry.
Sorry.
I'll stand.
You can't see now.
Hello.
Yeah.
Friends, welcome to the BBC. Although really I think we should be saying welcome back to the BBC. But we're going to get going in a few minutes. We're just finishing some speaker setup here. The police just asked us to set up the stage a little bit later than we planned. But thank you very much to the police for being here to look after us. Thank you very much to CST for being here to look after us. And thank you to all of the CAA stewards and team. But thank you most of all, I think, to the person who is most responsible for bringing us here this evening, and that's David Collier. Let's have a thank you for David Collier. I'm very pleased to tell you David's here tonight, and he's going to be talking about his investigation. I think many of us are wondering, how is it possible that yet again David Collier has managed to figure out something that the BBC weren't able to figure out themselves? Do we put it down to incompetence? Yes! I'm not sure we're that generous. Is it incompetence that this is down to? Terrorist supporters off our screens! Terrorist supporters off our screens!
Supporters off our screens!
BBC, come clean!
BBC, come clean!
BBC, come clean!
BBC, come clean!
Terrorist supporters off our screens!
Terrorist supporters off our screens!
Stop funding Hamas! Yes!
Friends, we'll be starting just in a couple of minutes. We're doing some final setup, and I'm very pleased to see that we're already out into the road. If there's anybody who wants to make a little bit of space for those who are coming here. You have just seen Kurpa's taken down her sign, but is it a sign that she holds up all the time? Whose sign was it? Come and bring it up here. I think everybody should see that sign. So Kurpa is one of the heroes who are here from a group called Our Fight. What's it say on the sign?
Hamas are terrorists.
Hamas are terrorists. I'm sure you've seen Kurpa being harassed with that sign. You've seen people like Niak who have been harassed by that with that sign. In fact, Niak how many times has Niak been arrested now? It's definitely more than 7. It's appalling. But one of the things that I find most appalling is that Kurpa knows that Hamas are terrorists. What do the BBC call Hamas?
Freedom fighters!
Hamas are terrorists! Say the words!
Hamas are terrorists!
Hamas are terrorists!
Hamas are terrorists!
Thank you very much. Kurpa, thank you, and thank you to all of you and everyone at Our Fight who's constantly out there fighting for all of us. Thank you. I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
We're currently broadcasting live in central London outside the BBC. This protest is against the BBC. It's an Israeli protest against the BBC. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you stay notified for future live streams like these. Thank you very much. All videos in the future.
My face is everywhere. They know me around the world.
And good man, and he's a good man as well.
Allegedly.
Speaker's Corner fame.
Oh, Speaker's Corner. Where's that? I wish I listened.
Hello, hello. Mic check. Now? See? Hello, hello. Mic check 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Yeah? Okay. 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2. 1 2 1 2 2 2. Hello. Mic check 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2. And this one? Huh? Hello, mic check 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2 2 2. 2. This one, yeah? Hello, mic check. It's too loud, shall I put it down? Okay, okay. Can you hear? Bueno, ya lo subo. Hello, hello, mic check. Nothing over there. Nothing.
Because I was very ill, so I was thankful.
Yeah.
No, it's just that.
Yeah.
Are you speaking?
Let's agree on that. Yeah.
Yeah, filming. Again, sensational.
Yeah.
I'm filming for Facebook. But you don't know if it's going.
1 2 1 2.
I know this for over a year and a half now. We've been going on marches. Yeah. Well, you must have seen me. Mind you, I normally wear my kind of face covering. So. Oh, okay. Well, he just said street fight. He's a good man. He films for the Tommy team and everything. I don't want to upset him, he's a bit bigger than me. This is the one you've got to watch. He's the quiet one.
I've seen you before, loads of times.
Hello, mic check 1 2 1 2 2 2. Hello. Hello. Hello.
We're currently broadcasting live outside the BBC. There are a lot of people here. Welcome onto the stream. My name is Louis Arrington. I'm an independent journalist. I cover a broad variety of protests and events on the channel. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you stay notified for future live streams or videos like these in the future. Thank you for tuning in.
The BBC are siding with the Palestinians in their interpretation of events. So I'm here to speak. This is the BBC headquarters, isn't it?
Yeah. One of them, then they got that free for them.
Smell the drums. I think that was Alan there for a moment.
What, Joe?
No, that guy there. The one with the glasses there.
He looks like him.
He does, doesn't he? I was almost about to say hello, Alan.
Oh, should I ring him? See where he is?
Yeah. I haven't got his number, so
Oh, no. Careful, please.
Please don't forget to share, folks. Please share. Share it to your groups, share it to your friends. The BBC themselves probably won't report this. No.
Thank you all very much for your patience.
To add what you like.
This is the BBC. There was a time, for over 100 years, the BBC has meant something to people all over the world, through World War, through Cold War, in the corridors of power, in the darkness of dictatorship, people heard the words, "This is the BBC." And it stood for something. Truth, honesty, impartiality, inquiry. And yet that legacy, 100 years in the making, has been squandered, hijacked, and corrupted by the people in the building behind us now. Shame on the BBC!
Shame!
We've had enough after 16 months of impartiality. We've had enough of the BBC preaching to us, telling us its truth. And thanks to David Collier, who we'll be hearing from this evening, the mask has finally come right off.
You can give it a go, Sharona.
Because the BBC went through commissioning, scripting, editing, broadcasting, covering up a documentary featuring the son of a high-ranking Hamas official. They spent £400,000 of license fee payers' money. They didn't tell license fee payers what was going on. They spent their money on this propaganda, this long-form propaganda, and that is what the BBC has become. So we're here to say, BBC, stop acting as spokespeople for terrorists. Shame on the BBC!
Shame! Shame! Shame!
And over the last couple of weeks, we don't even need to go as far back as October 7th. Look at how the BBC has covered the horrifying and soul-destroying return of 4 bodies to Israel. Of Shiri Bibas, of Kfir Bibas, of Ariel Bibas, of Oded Lifshitz. It's absolutely disgusting because the BBC hasn't covered it. They've taken Hamas's macabre ceremonies featuring coffins of infant children kidnapped from their homes, locked with keys that were not handed over to Israel, and with those coffins stamped, arrested 7th of October. The BBC don't tell you this. When the BBC learned with the rest of us that Shiri Bibas had not in fact been returned to Israel, that the body of some other person had been returned to Israel, had been sent to Israel, the BBC literally copied and pasted what the Hamas spokesperson said. They said it had been a mix-up. Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame! 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 Terrorist supporters off our screens! Terrorist supporters off our screens! And just look at what the people in the BBC are up to. You may have spotted on X a post from Paul Adams saying that, the BBC's Paul Adams that is, saying that on 7th of October, Gazans busted out of their dismal prison and exacted terrible revenge. Revenge? Revenge. Is that what it was? Revenge? The worst anti-Semitic atrocity since the Holocaust? Just the tit for tat? The cycle of violence, as the BBC are fond of saying? Shame on you!
Shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame! Shame! Shame on you! Shame! Shame! Shame on you! Shame! Shame! Shame on you! Shame, shame, shame on you.
Shame, shame, shame on you.
And yet the BBC's John Donison has the gall to accuse others of propaganda. He said that the propaganda, as he puts it, by Hamas and Israel over the hostages has been nauseating. That's the BBC view. He apologized for it, he took down the X post, but we know what he thought. Shame on you! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Friends, the BBC has become a mouthpiece for Hamas. It is literally broadcasting their propaganda. It will not call terrorists by their name. It will not do a single decent thing, and we are here to call for the decent thing. There was a time when journalism was a respected profession, when if a journalist commissioned a terrorist organization to make a documentary, they would resign. And people must lose their jobs over this. Make no mistake, people must lose their jobs. Fire them! Fire them! Fire them!
Dismantle them!
BBC, Hamas TV!
But meanwhile, they continue to pump out BBC program after BBC program and mark their own homework. We say there must be an end to this. The BBC must not be allowed to process its own complaints. All other broadcasters, you can go straight to Ofcom. Why with the BBC do they get to mark their homework first? Enough. End that charade. As Lee Kern likes to say, from the river to the sea, Hamas loves the BBC. There must be a full, open inquiry. The mask has finally slipped. And to tell us more about the mask slipping, I'd like to welcome the person who is very much man of the moment. I'd like to introduce investigative journalist, apparently mightier than everyone at BBC Verify, David Collier!
Hi guys. Look, I'm more of a researcher and investigator than I am a speaker, but we'll see how we go. Alright, now listen. You guys obviously know that Hamas are terrorists. Right? All louder? Okay, you guys know that Hamas are terrorists. Europe knows Hamas are terrorists. Our government knows Hamas are terrorists. The US know that Hamas are terrorists. Arab states know that Hamas are terrorists. Only these guys in the building behind us have a problem understanding that what we saw on October the 7th was carried out by genocidal Jew-hating terrorists. Yeah. And let's not think that this is some kind of accident. You know, in their documentaries, they interview Arabs from Gaza. And the Arabs from Gaza say, we want to murder the Jews. We want to slaughter the Jews. And the BBC, these people in the building behind us, mistranslate it. You can't hear me. Is that better? Are we okay now? Good. All right.
A lot of people here.
Thank you. The people in the building behind us mistranslate the word Jew for Israeli, downplaying the genocidal intent of the people that want to kill us. It's deliberate. when they do this. We are standing outside the building of the biggest spreaders and enablers of anti-Semitism on the planet. Now look, last Monday,
BBC, shame, shame, 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 BBC, shame, shame.
Hey, you guys are very good at this. Right, as you should be. Last Monday, in the evening at 9 o'clock, the BBC published a Hamas propaganda video. 5 days later, they took it down. But let's be clear about this. They didn't take it down because they'd published Hamas propaganda. They didn't take it down because it was full of inaccuracies. They didn't take it down because it mistranslated or it was junk that they didn't want anyone to see. They didn't realize that the children were reading from a script. They took it down because we caught them. And they had no choice and no excuses. They had to take it down. And that is just the first step. Because look, we looked and we found that the BBC had spent £400,000 to a Palestinian propagandist to produce a Hamas video. Now look, I don't have a large research team. I sit in a small room with a computer and a keyboard. I don't even speak Arabic. It took me 3 or 4 hours to find out that the person they used as the narrator for their documentary is the son of a key Hamas minister. 3 or 4 hours. This means that the BBC never bothered to check. They did not even look. There was no due diligence. There was no check. They wanted to rubber stamp the work of a Palestinian propagandist and then spend their time creating promotional videos to make sure that as many people as possible would watch their pro-Hamas narrative. The BBC is siding with Hamas and undermining Israel's right to exist. We caught our broadcaster working with Hamas to make people hate Israel and love the terrorists. They're trying to persuade people to pick up the Palestinian flag and march through London streets calling for the destruction of Israel. Shame on them.
Shame! Shame on you!
It's worse than all this.
BBC, shame, shame, BBC, shame, shame, BBC, shame, shame, BBC, shame, shame, BBC.
Indeed.
Cocksuckers.
And it's even worse than all that. Because we know that they followed this 13 or 14-year-old child for weeks. And we also know that there's no way they could have done that without permission from the parents. And we know that the parents are Hamas. Did they pay them? That's the question here. Are we in a situation where the British state television actually paid Hamas to produce? I mean, we have these guys, the police, they should know the people who are in there you need to be looking at. They're the ones that have been actively paying a proscribed terrorist group for years. Actually, no, not for years. For decades. Whoa. See, I almost fell over. Hang on. For decades. Where's nerves? Anyway. Right. We have known that the bias was there. The BBC's anti-Israel stance has been pumping anti-Semitism into the veins of this country for decades. Time after time, we caught them giving platforms to hate preachers, to terrorist supporters, and to anti-Semites. And each time they went silent or they gave an unacceptable excuse. Well, not this time, because now the whole nation can see them. The BBC has been corrupted from within and is acting as a mouthpiece for genocidal terrorists who massacre Jews. Everyone can see it now. And it is time to hold them to account. We demand a full, independent investigation. We want to know exactly what has gone wrong inside BBC HQ, how the documentary was produced, why it was even commissioned, and who inside that building is responsible for the blatant, one-sided, anti-Israel junk that the BBC produces day in and day out. And this time, just before I wrap up, and this time, we want full transparency, and we want it public. Those inside these offices behind me who have helped spread the cancer of anti-Semitism can no longer be allowed to work there. We will accept nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Shame on the BBC.
Shame on the BBC. Shame on you.
Friends, I can see a lot of Union flags. I can see some Israeli flags. And there's another flag I've just spotted. Lily, would you just come up? This is Lily Mu, who is an Iranian peace activist. We say with one voice, salam. Salam. Shalom. Thank you very much for your friendship. Thank you for coming this evening. I'm just going to ask everybody to do something for me, which is that if you look behind us, not at the BBC, away from the BBC, you should see somebody on a ladder with a camera. And what I'm going to ask for this particular shot is everybody hold their placards nice and high, hold your flags nice and high. And just stay like that for a moment. Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC!
Shame on the BBC!
Terrorist supporters off our screens!
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 Okay, we're just going to go for one more photo now, where if I can ask you, for those who've got a placard, you see there are two sides to it. One has a picture of a BBC employee, perhaps. Could I ask you to put that over your face, to almost wear it as a mask, and look again in the same direction we were just looking? And if I can ask for everything that's not one of those placards, flags, placards which say other things, if you just drop that down for a second. Because what we're going to try and get is a shot without any flags, where it's just the Hamas BBC face on the face of everybody here. So if you can just do that for a second. Shame on the BBC!
Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC! Shame on the BBC!
Shame on the BBC!
Shame on the BBC!
Shame on the BBC!
Shame on the BBC!
Okay, now, if your birthday is on an odd day of the year, can I ask you to hold the text side facing that way? And if your birthday's on an even side of the year, if the year of your birth is even, hold the text side looking that way, and if it's an odd number, hold the Hamas face looking that way, so we get a nice variety. Shame on the BBC!
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 Stop paying the license!
Yeah!
Well, we've got two more speakers for you this evening. And our next speaker, I know, is going to... Our next speaker is going to introduce himself. His name's Michael Marlo. And before I ask Michael up, I want to take a moment. I want to take a moment to remember all of those who were massacred on October 7th, since October 7th, the hostages who were taken into Gaza and never came back alive, including Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir. I want to remember all of those who are still in captivity, whose return we pray for, and who in one voice we say, bring them home. And before I ask Michael Marlo to come up, I want to have a moment of silence for all of those we're praying for all of those we mourn, for all of those who this propaganda has done so much to harm. Because people like Michael Marlo, unfortunately know all too well the cost that this is having. Unfortunately, Michael's son Jake was amongst those murdered on October 7th. I'd like you to join me in a moment's silence. Thank you. Everybody, please give a very warm welcome, Michael Marlo.
Good evening. The BBC was established in October 1922 under a royal charter. The BBC was established in October 1922 under a royal charter. For multiple decades, it stood as the bastion of honest and trustworthy reporting, setting the highest of standards. It was the world's first point of call for global and national news, respected for its integrity and neutrality. Not anymore. That BBC is long gone, and so are their standards. Over the years, it's been overtaken by countless other media outlets. Once a pillar of credibility, has become a national embarrassment, bloated, blinkered, out of touch, and anything but neutral. It is rotten from top to bottom, morally corrupt. October the 7th, 2023, southern Israel. A day of unimaginable horror. Over 1,260 innocent people were brutally slaughtered. Over 250 men, women and children were taken hostage, dragged into the hellholes of Gaza by Hamas terrorists.
And civilians.
Same thing. Yet to this very day, 508 days later, the BBC refuses to call Hamas what they are, a terrorist organization. In Instead, they parrot Hamas propaganda verbatim, while casting doubt on anything Israel says. In my view, their bias is undeniable. Their contempt for the truth, shameful. Their agenda, disgraceful. June the 8th, 2024, Gaza. One of the most daring rescue operations in modern history. The IDF saved 4 hostages in an act of extraordinary planning, courage, and bravery. How did the BBC report it? 4 hostages were released. They were not released. They were rescued. They even had the audacity to question why the IDF didn't warn Gazans in advance. Absurdity beyond words. The BBC today is bloated, blinkered, contemptible. In my view, it is a vile, hate-filled organisation that is no longer fit for purpose. No wonder over 500,000 households cancelled their licence fees in 2024. Was that due to affordability or because they despise the product? I know my answer. Who am I? My name is Michael Marlo. I am the father of Jake Marlo, a British Israeli citizen. Jake was doing unarmed security at the Nova Music Peace Festival. He was murdered on that day from hell. He was utterly heroic in his final moments, sacrificing his own life and shepherding partygoers to safety. He was cut down in a hail of bullets, shot 9 times by Hamas terrorists. He was just 26 years old. Yes, BBC, Hamas terrorists. Say the words, Hamas is a terrorist organization. Your refusal to acknowledge this has stripped you of any remaining credibility. I have nothing but disdain and contempt for the BBC. You are utterly despicable. Shame on you lot.
Shame on you!
Shame on you!
Shame, shame, BBC! Shame on you!
BBC! Shame, BBC!
Shame, shame on the BBC! Shame, shame, shame on you! Shame, shame, shame on you! Shame, shame, shame on you!
Shame on you!
Friends, I'm delighted to introduce our last speaker. some of you may already know Josh Howey. He's a comedian, he's an actor, a screenwriter, a broadcaster, and a commentator. You'll have seen him on your screens. Now you see him tonight on our stage. Josh, thank you very much for joining us.
Here we are again. Just in case anyone thinks this is only about Israel, a little over 3 years ago, many of us stood right here in this very spot protesting after the BBC accused a bunch of Jewish kids who were victims of a violent racist attack of being racist themselves, of even provoking the racist anti-Semitic attack. And even though anyone with ears could hear what was in fact a call for help in Hebrew, even though the Jewish community had to pay for audio experts to prove that the BBC were wrong, the BBC dragged its feet, stonewalled, circled the wagons. Even when nearly a year later Ofcom finally ruled against the BBC still refused to retract the accusation. 3 years later, their article is still up. The lie is still there. No real apologies, no accountability. So, here we are again. But really, British Jews have been here for decades now. Outside the BBC, some even in the BBC, saying there is a problem, begging the BBC to listen. A problem with journalists, a problem with anti-Semitism, a problem with Israel. Let's not pretend that the three aren't interlinked. We had the Balaam report, then we had the Asserson report, we had Danny Cohen's report. Every time the BBC deflects, ignores, continues under the pretense of impartiality, hoping those pesky Jews will go away. And then they just carry on providing a platform to Jew haters, carry on failing to challenge them, carry on directly employing Jew haters, carry on unquestioningly parroting Hamas propaganda. They call Jewish hostages prisoners. They call Palestinian prisoners hostages. But what they won't do is call a prescribed terrorist organization of rapists, of racists, of murderers, terrorists. No, they won't do that because the BBC are so impartial. As they deflect, as they ignore, as they hope those pesky Jews will just go away. So, here we are again. £400,000 of our money, license payers' money to pay for an hour of Hamas terrorist propaganda, of lies to be spewed out to the British people and the world as truth. How much of that money went directly to terrorists themselves, to the cameraman who celebrated October 7th, to the relatives of Hamas officials? And once again it falls to Jews, to a tiny minority, to reveal the facts, to do the work of due diligence that the BBC either fails to do by incompetence or design. And by the way, when I say Jews, I mostly mean one Jew, David Collier, heroically doing the work of many for years. Why are institutions not supporting him? The point is, one Jew can make a difference. He shows that. But hey, what do we have here? Lots of Jews. You, us, together, our allies. All of us, exactly. Our allies. Thank you so much for being here. All of us together, we need to break this cycle. As once again, in this latest of many shameful episodes, the BBC is following its playbook. Minimize, oh, it's just a little omission. Deflect, oh, it's the production company's fault. Ignore. The BBC will have yet another urgent meeting, and then they'll do nothing and hope that those pesky Jews will go away. No! We won't go away. But you know what? I don't want to be back here again. I want this time to be different. This time, we have had finally enough. This time, we can take action. This time, if we really want there to be change, we need to take action. I refuse to pay the BBC license fee. An act of civil disobedience. I will no longer pay the wages of those who hate Jews. I will no longer pay for a platform that gives a voice to Jew haters and fails to challenge that hatred. I will no longer pay for a license to hate. And I am hoping that you will join me. People here, people watching, what are Jews? Technically we're an ethno-religion, but in the day-to-day what we are is a community. That is our strength. That is why we're still here after 3,000 years. One Jew might difference, but one Jew is easy to dismiss. I'm easy enough to dismiss. Our enemies can discredit me in a second. Oh, I work for a rival channel. Doesn't matter. You don't have to pay for that channel. You're not forced to pay for that channel.
Will this be on the 10 o'clock news?
It will be on GB News. One Jew is easy for our haters to dismiss. But 10 Jews, 100 Jews, 1,000 Jews and more, and our allies all together and saying no to a license to hate. Then the BBC might understand the truth, that we are just British Jews. British Jews who can no longer bring ourselves to support an organisation that harbours those who hate us and spreads that hate out to the world. And I'm scared. I'm scared of fines, of court, of jail, but I'm more scared of what not doing anything means for my family, for myself, for my community, for the future of Jews in this country, for our future in the world, such as the supposed reputability that BBC News has for truth. So what do we want then? We want to shake the BBC out of its arrogance and hubris, to stop them lying to us and itself and the world that is unbiased as they point to pro-Palestinian activists who are upset that the BBC isn't racist enough, as some kind of evidence that it's fulfilling its legal commitments to Jew impartiality. People make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Organizations make mistakes, but at some point, say after decades, mistakes become design. And forget half-mumbled apologies. These mistakes will keep on happening until finally there's some actual accountability. What we want is for the BBC to get over its inherent sense of moral superiority and admit that it has a systemic problem when it comes to Israel and Jews. We want the BBC to take the necessary actions to stop employing Jew haters and broadcasting hatred and lies about Jews. And until they do that, I hope that you, all of you, will join me. And please email contact@antisemitism.org, put BBC in the title. This is so the CAA can organize this movement, coordinate us in this fight. So there's a community, we can stand together and we can pledge to take this civil disobedience together and declare together no to a license to hate. No to a license to hate. No to a license to hate.
No to a license to hate. Wow. Wow. You've just heard from a man, a father, a husband, who is willing to risk it all because paying the license fee is not optional in this country. I want to ask here, who's willing to stand with Josh? Who also doesn't want to pay that? So you also say no to a license to hate? Yes! That's extraordinary. I'm looking out here at about 1,000 people who are saying, hands up, they don't want to pay the license fee anymore. Put your hands up if you're with Josh.
Don't pay your license fee. Hands up, you don't pay your license.
The prisons are full anyway, apparently. That's extraordinary. So, we're interested to hear from you. So send us an email, like Josh says, with BBC in the subject line, contact@antisemitism.org. Friends, we're at the end of our rally, but I feel that the fight has kicked up another gear. It feels very much like it felt a few years ago with the Labour Party. The Labour Party kept telling us that they couldn't possibly have an institutional anti-Semitism problem because they're the anti-racist party of Jeremy Corbyn. Until eventually we took them to the Equality and Human Rights Commission. I'd like to thank the amazing lawyers who represented CAA in that. And the Equality and Human Rights Commission came down with a guilty verdict. But even then, Jeremy Corbyn sort of stood on the metaphorical steps of the court, ranting that it was exaggerated, ranting that it wasn't all real. And yet here we stand outside the BBC. And the BBC tell us that they couldn't possibly have an institutional problem because they're so impartial. Well, if the BBC is so transparent that they can tell us to the penny how much they pay their stars, let's find out, as David Collier asks. Where did the £400,000 go, BBC? Come clean! If the BBC is so impartial, they won't be afraid of being properly regulated by Ofcom, instead of marking their own homework. And if the BBC is so impartial and has so little to hide, they will release the Balaam report and they will answer openly and honestly, as the leader of the opposition has demanded, to a full-blown public, transparent inquiry. And until then, come over here and say it. Friends,
we won't pay our license fee. Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey,
we can't hear you.
Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license
And one more time.
Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee. Hey, hey, BBC, we won't pay our license fee.
Shame on the BBC that it has come to this. Shame on the BBC. Friends, I should just clarify that as an organisation we cannot condone any kind of law breaking. However, we are very interested to hear from each of you. Anonymously, if you like, send an email, subject BBC, to contact@antisemitism.org. For those of you who aren't busy filming, grab your phone now, just send an email. You don't have to write anything in it, just send BBC in the subject line to contact@antisemitism.org. We'll be in touch. We want to hear your story. For now, friends, get home safely. I want to say a few thank yous to the police who've been looking after us. And thanks for not arresting Kerper. I want to say thank you to the CST who've been looking after us. I want to say thank you to the CAA stewards and the CAA team who've made this evening possible. I want to say thank you to Our Fight and to Lily from the Iranian community and all of the allies who are here tonight. And thank you to Josh. Thank you to Michael Marlo. And thank you to David Collier. Thank you for coming. Get home safe. And for those who want to hang on to your placards as wall art, you're very welcome. If you want to hand it back into the stewards in the high-vis jackets, that would also be very welcome too. But you're welcome to keep them if you want.
Excuse me. Josh. Josh, hi there. My name's Lou Arrington, I'm an independent journalist. What effect do you think this protest will have today outside the BBC?
I think it's just brought more people together. It showed other Jewish people, our allies, how serious we are about resolving this, that it's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to be something they can just sort of sweep under the carpet, and that Jewish people have had enough. We can't pay money for hate anymore.
How do you want the UK government to respond to your protest today?
I want them to do whatever they can to hold the BBC to account. It's not... This obviously goes deep. This has been a long time. This has been many incidents. And I'd like them to not throw me in jail, if possible. But I can't pay... and other people can't pay any more for this service, you know. Just can't.
Thank you very much for your time on camera. Very good to meet you. Thank you. Cheers.
Excuse me.
Saying to you, are you aware that you're not allowed to watch any live TV? I still have to.
Going to be ending the live broadcast now. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Louis Arrington. I'm an independent journalist and I cover a broad variety of protests and events across central London. So be sure to subscribe if you're new and hit the bell notification button so you stay notified for future live streams like these and so you don't miss them. Thank you very much and see you all on the next live broadcast.